Here's the thing. Wireless service doesn't have to cost a fortune. And once you figure that out, you'll switch to Mint Mobile and start saving instantly. It's the same phone, same number. It's the same great coverage, just a way smaller bill. Mint Mobile offers plans starting at just $15 a month. You'll still get high-speed data and unlimited talk and text, all on the nation's largest 5G network. So you're not giving anything up except overpriced nonsense. And switching, it couldn't be easier. You can bring your own phone, you can keep your own number, and everything will work right out of the gate. So say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bill. I used to have a cell phone bill that was absolutely
jaw-dropping.
Bananas.
Jaw-dropping.
My jaw was on the floor every time I got my bill.
That's terrible.
You'll feel like, why didn't you do this sooner? The service is just as good as what you were using before, but now you'll be paying a fraction of the cost. So this year, skip breaking a sweat and breaking the bank. Get your summer savings and shop premium wireless plans at mintmobile.com/who. That's mintmobile.com/who. Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month 5GB plan required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customer offer for first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. Welcome to Who Weekly, the podcast where you'll learn everything you need to know about the celebrities you don't. I'm Bobby Finger.
I'm Lindsay Weber.
And this is Who's There, our weekly call-in show where we take your questions, comments, and concerns at 619-WHO-THEM. Let's start with some comments. We have a couple on the group Cat's Eye. Here's the first one.
Hi, Who Weekly. Long time. I was just calling in to clarify about the Cat's Eye segment, and specifically when they talk about the Tesla, and sometimes they don't. And that is because in Korea you can't actually say the name of a brand, so they have to change it when they perform it there. I don't actually know how they feel about Tesla one way or another, but that is the reason why. Okay, French, women don't belong in Teslas here in.
Oh my God, what would we rhyme with party if not Bacardi? That would like ruin half
It would ruin us.
Like country music and rap music and it would just, the whole...
Jack Daniels, bottle of Jack.
Oh God,
We'd be
feel
ruined.
Like I do feel like part of me is like, wow, that's good, and then part of me is like, damn, music would be changed forever in the U.S. So that's why Tesla was replaced by robotics.
Yes. But I'm sorry if you couldn't hear that call. It was a little crackly. The caller was saying that in Korea, brand names are censored. You're not allowed to use brand names in. For the most part, I know that there are some exceptions, but for the most part, you're not allowed to use brand names in music that's played on Korean radio. But I was just thinking about like iconic American examples, and one of my favorite brand name drops in pop music history, American pop music history. Let's go back to, when was this a big song? 2011, 2012?
Bad year for music. Just kidding. A great year for music.
No, great year for music. What was one of my favorite lines? Found the Bud Light.
Found a Bud Light. I forgot how obsessed you were with Found a Bud Light.
It's still
was
so
that in
funny.
Starships?
It was in Starships. Have a drink. Clink.
Clink.
Found a Bud Light.
Have a drink, clink, found a Bud Light. Bad bitches like me, it's hard to come by.
Although I've never quite confirmed, is it found a Bud Light or found the Bud Light? I think it's found the Bud Light, but I always thought it was funny if it was found a Bud Light.
Because it's very me at a party being like, what do you guys have to drink? And I don't really want to like bother anyone. And I'm just looking around. I just found a Bud Light. And I'll drink that. I don't want to drink that, but I'll drink that.
Have a drink. Clink.
Clink.
Found a Bud Light. Found a Bud Light.
Yeah, and also you can't even replace that, like, found a nice beer. Like, you can't, it doesn't even work. Like, we do need these brand names. God, that's so American of us. We're like, we need these brand names for rhyming.
Okay, another Tesla call. Sorry. Okay, another Cat's Eye call that came in.
Hi, BLT, dedicated Cat's Eye fan here and hooligan calling in. Thank you for covering them. You mentioned that Laura is the gay one. In a gay right, Megan has also come out as gay in the past week, so wanted to share the news. And also, another update, they have a new song, Gabriella, which was previously demoed by Rita Ora and Anita, so connection to the Who family here. Okay. Crunch, crunch.
You love to hear the existence of a new gay Cat's Eye during Pride Month.
I'm thrilled.
2 gay Cat's Eyes.
2 of the 6, 1/3 of Cat's Eye is now publicly out as queer.
That's awesome.
I love it.
Actually love to hear that. So I did know this, but I forgot to say it. Or like I knew, whatever. It didn't make the doc, but like I knew. I had an idea. Because I didn't put it together that Rita had demoed this Cat's Eye song, Gabriella, that was literally about to come out, starring Jessica Alba in the music video, in a kind of telenovela theme, but it kind of breaks the rules in a fun way. It's fun. It's aesthetic. There's something going on here.
I like the telenovela theme more than I like the rest of the video. But,
sure.
Because it does it metamorphosizes throughout, you know?
And naturally, you can tell this song's been passed around because it has 4,000 writers. Like, Charlie XCX is on this list of writers. So is Andrew Watt, who I believe Rita Ora dated for a while. And like 12 other people. I'm kidding. Like 6 other people. But that's still a ton of people for one song.
Yeah.
And so this was demoed by not just Rita Ora, but Anita too, which is like kind of fun. And I kind of sometimes assume I know what that means. The idea it's demoed by somebody. Like, were they auditioning it for themselves, or were they just kind of like were they working with a writer at the time that ended up writing it and they didn't want it? Like, there's kind of a lot of like, you can't really say definitively what that means.
There's so many ways.
There's so many on a track.
Right. There's so many reasons someone could record a demo for a song.
Like, Charlie could have written this with some people in the studio and Rita happened to be nearby. Like, or you know, can you put your voice on this? Like, there are just so many random ways for these things to get out or leaked or have, you know, I always think of the kind of the song where Charlie's voice, Selena's voice, the Maren Morris song that Maren Morris won out. The middle.
Yes.
And they have all the clips of all the singers singing it, and you're trying to guess who's who. I just think of it's just like that was kind of an audition version of this, but like that's not how it usually happens. I think that girls are coming in and like throwing their shit on the track to see if it works.
That was like a specific type of song construction, you know?
Yeah.
Where it's like it's a Zed song and we need a woman.
they
were just like,
and we know
hello,
it's
we need a woman.
Yeah. We need it, and we know it's going to be a hit. Okay, what do you think about Gabriella, this Cat's Eye song, now Cat's Eye song?
I think it's catchy.
Why have one Rita Ora voice when you could have like the voice of every Cat's Eye?
And I think the song, I like the song as a video because they already have a little dance.
Not compelled.
I like that they all kind of get a little moment, like the way that they break the chorus up so that each woman gets like a bit of shine. Split 6 ways. I mean, this band is just impressive to me because there are 6 women in it, and so the way that they are they're somehow like sort of like there's some sort of like egalitarian in it, right? Like they're all getting equal weight.
I'm just blown over. I'm just bowled over by 6 women. Like, as a gay guy, I'm just like, 6 women? I'm like,
what's the stupid fucking meme now? The concept of there being 6 women? Like,
no, it really is. It really is for
the concept
like,
of 6 women is impressive to me.
All you need is 6 women. I also think like with 6 women, it's like one of them's going to be slaying. So it's like, that's good odds, you know?
Like, Cat's Eye saw the classic Robert Altman movie, 3 Women, and they were like, double it. Double it.
I think we just all really yearn for our Fifth Harmony harmonizer eras. And we're thinking all these women, they're all by themselves. I have to choose between them. Just throw them together. Give me 6 and make them all kind of slay.
Why
you know?
stop at 5? It's
and
crazy.
Where some of them aren't slaying, the others will pick up the slack. We don't need, you know, like Normani's faltering by herself, but when she was slaying in Fifth Harmony, it worked. You know,
worked.
She had support.
Nothing could stop them.
Same with
Nothing
Camila.
could stop them.
All right.
Yeah, the song is good. Do you like the song?
Sure, it's catchy.
Okay, let's take another call.
You got everybody's eyes on just you, and I see it too. Yeah. You can have anyone else you wanted to, but I'm begging you. Hands off, Gabriella. Gabriella, hands off, Gabriella. Back off from my filler. Gabriella, back off, Gabriella. 'Cause you can have anyone else you wanted to. I'm begging you. Hands off, Gabriella. Gabriella, hands off, Gabriella. La la la.
Hi, Lindsay, Bobby, Timmy. Don't know what the time is. Damn it. Can you just cut this? Hi, Lindsay, Bobby, Timmy. I'm starting over. Padma Lakshmi is supposedly, maybe allegedly dating Chef Melissa King, as revealed by a apparent hard launch Instagram post today, Friday the 20th. I know I'm late, obviously, for this week's call-in show, and it's probably going to be all said and done and out there by next week, but I'm just here yapping because life is terrible, and thank you guys for providing some levity in these terrible times. Okay, love you, bye.
Hi, BLT, medium time. I'm calling in with some possible gay rights news. Are Padma Lakshmi and Melissa King dating? Melissa King is a chef who's been on Top Chef and is kind of a celebrity chef at this point, and she posted an Instagram carousel of a lot of photos of her and Padma together in both like red carpet context, like multiple red carpets together, and also just like living life, seemingly being very close. This would be like totally out of left field for me, but would love. So just curious, like if you have any insight, if Padma Lakshmi and Melissa King are like linked to other people, not to slander any polyamory, like we support that, but just really curious if there's anything going on here. Okay. Crunch, Misa bisexual.
Is Padma taking the jorts out of the drawer with Melissa King? Past Top Chef winner?
I would love to hear Padma talk about her jorts. I decided to put my jorts back in the drawer.
Is that your Padma impression?
She has such a specific way of speaking. I pulled the jorts out of my drawer and I looked at them and I decided they weren't quite the right fit. So I put them back into the drawer. Maybe I'll revisit them at another date. I don't know. Maybe that's a horrible Padma.
You know what would really help her comedy career? Taking the jorts out of the drawer. But in fact, she's putting the jorts back in the drawer. You know, I don't even think the jorts ever came out of the drawer. I feel like putting the jorts back in the drawer is very JoJo Siwa. But Padma, to her credit, she didn't take the jorts out. You all just misunderstood a post of hers on social media.
She may not even own jorts.
She might not even own jorts.
I don't even think she owns jorts.
I'm not seeing her wearing jorts. She's probably wearing shorts. And you're saying, are those jorts? And they're shorts.
No, they'd be short shorts too. I think she's
so
a short
what happened here? Melissa King, a queer chef from Top Chef
universe.
I loved Melissa on Top Chef.
Everyone
Posed
loved Melissa.
with Padma on the red carpet for something, whatever. Pellegrino, Cherry Bomb, Veuve, Power.
Veuve.
I'm reading the step and repeat.
I don't know what event it is because they're covering up the entire step and repeat except for the brands.
It's funny to try and guess an event from the step and repeat. I'm like, what is this event? I see the media sponsor and I see the brands,
They're all
but
the
I don't
same.
know what
all these
is.
events are the same. So it's like a gala.
The Power 500.
Power
of food.
500. Food, powerful food influencers of 2025. Literally doesn't matter. The point is, Melissa brought her dear friend Padma.
People were so Chef Melissa King is so gay that they thought that them just posing together nicely implied that they were a couple.
Okay, yes, but the specific caption that Melissa used did have a sort of slight implication of intimacy, which was we clean up sometimes. That is the caption you use if you are one half of a couple. We clean up sometimes.
Maybe.
It's like what a really fucking annoying couple posts when they're doing a dump from a wedding of their friend where none of the photos are of like the bride or the groom and the like, doesn't matter. It's just all photos of them, and it's like, we clean up nice sometimes, and it's just them.
Like the implication, I get what you're saying. The implication that it's like we clean up sometimes, meaning like sometimes we don't clean up. We are we do other events. We are messy sometimes.
We are messy.
We. And then people were all commenting like, let this be a soft launch. By the way, this is not a soft launch. It's a hard launch if it was a launch at all. Meanwhile, it's not a launch at all. So it's like either a hard launch or not a launch. I'd kill for this love story, somebody wrote. They seemingly knew that they weren't actually a couple.
Yes. Because, surprise, surprise, after one short day of people speculating about the state of Padma Lakshmi and Melissa King's relationship, Melissa King was like, I have a girlfriend. Love you. You know, like, Nene, love you. And it's another Top Chef person.
I have a girlfriend, another Top Chef chef.
Mm-hmm. It's Nene Wynn.
I love Nene also. God, this is like, Nene and Melissa are like two real fan faves.
Now they're like a Top Chef power couple, and Padma is simply there. Padma's just there.
Padma's not even on Top Chef anymore.
No. Padma's taking a dump all over the VIP list girlies and like trying to do her comedy career, I guess.
To be fair, that's the funniest thing she's done yet.
Yeah. Is Padma still pursuing a comedy career? Is she still doing
For
this?
sure. She's doing drop-ins at the Chuckle Huts on like 6th Avenue or whatever. I don't know what that is. She's dropping in.
She is
at
just
the Comedy Cellar.
Interesting. She is just so interesting. And I think that there is something to her personality and her character and her overall fucking vibe that leads people to believe that she could, in fact, have jorts in the drawer that are ready to come out, because she's so mysterious in that way.
If you hear her entire dating history, you would be convinced that the jorts are out of the drawer. I understand. She has billionaire benefactor romances that
if you are with Salman Rushdie for like what? They were only together for a few years. Even if it doesn't matter how long you're with Salman Rushdie, maybe you leave that relationship going like, I think I got to pull my jorts out of the drawer. Like, I think you might be in that position.
I know. But that's why I'm kind of like, if she was doing comedy that involved being with Salman Rushdie and the other billionaire guy that like left her all his money or whatever, I'm like, I want to hear those stories. I want to hear those tales. I think they would make for incredible kind of long form comedy, one Padma show.
One Padma show.
I want to see that. So I'm like, Padma, like, let's get it together. But, you know, we'll see. Maybe she's just doing knock-knock jokes at home. I don't know what she's doing. I don't know what her comedy looks like. And I don't know her alphabet or her comedy.
Knock-knock jokes.
I don't know. People do those.
God.
At home.
Padma saying knock-knock. Oh, that's already like one of the most like mesmerizing things I've ever heard in my entire life.
I know.
Knock,
it's
knock.
crazy. Okay, can we move on, please?
I want to be famous.
It's summer reading season. It's coming up. Beach reads. And you know what's better than a beach read? A beach listen.
How do you even sit on the beach and read a book at this point? It's kind of uncomfortable always. You know what I mean? You got to like make sure you have enough shade, but not too much shade because you got to get a little tan. Your neck can't hurt, blah, blah, blah. Here's how to solve that problem. Listen to your book.
On Audible, okay? Listen to it on Audible. Did you ever wish you could turn your daily routine into an adventure? You can with Audible. Whether you're commuting, working out, or just winding down at the end of the day, you can always have an incredible story playing in your ears. So next time you go to the beach, bring your headphones with you so you can listen to a wonderful audiobook, because there are plenty of good books coming out this spring and summer.
Audible delivers thrills of every kind on your command, from electrifying suspense and daring quests to spine-tingling horror and romance in far-off realms. So they just have everything you need. Any recommendation you get from a friend, there's an audiobook, and you can get it on Audible.
You know what you could listen to on the beach? Two good recommendations what you could listen to on the beach. You know I love Ann Tyler. New Ann Tyler novel out. So is the audiobook. You know what else is out on audiobook soon? Tina Knowles' memoir, Matriarch. Listen to that on the beach. Tell your friends all of her anecdotes.
I'm still listening to Barbara Streisand's memoir audiobook. That's going to take me years to finish, and I'm so happy to pick it back up for the summer.
Audible members can keep one title a month to keep from this entire catalog. New members can try Audible now free for 30 days and dive into a world of new thrills. Visit audible.com/who or text WHO to 500-500. That's audible.com/WHO or text WHO to 500-500 to try Audible free for 30 days.
Hey, what's up, flies? This is David Spade.
Dana Carvey.
Look, I know we never actually left, but I'll just say it. We are back with another season of Fly on the Wall.
Every episode, including ones with guests, will now be on video. Every Thursday, you'll hear us and see us chatting with big-name celebrities.
And every Monday, you're stuck with just me and Dana. We react to news, what's trending, viral clips.
Follow and listen to Fly on the Wall everywhere you get your podcasts.
Groons.
Groons.
Convenient, comprehensive formula. Are you currently taking multiple supplements a day? This isn't a multivitamin, a greens gummy, or a prebiotic. It's all of those things and then some at a fraction of the price. And bonus, it tastes great.
It does taste great.
Winter's over, spring's here. It's time to ditch the clutter. And we don't mean like your winter clothes or whatever. We mean the clutter of the multivitamins. Like how many of those are you taking a day? It's like we need to pare that down. We need to replace some of those girlies with a singular girly, and that is Groons. That is Groons. That's Groons. That's Groons. Making wellness enjoyable and sustainable means I only eat one of these things a day, right? And it's gonna be Groons.
It makes the entire process of taking vitamins and supplements very, very easy and kind of thoughtless. There are 8 gummies in each daily snack pack because you can't fit the right amount of nutrients they do in just one gummy. Plus, 8 gummies in a day, that's a fun treat. Groons ingredients are backed by over 35,000 research publications. The ingredients in Groons can yield a 41% increase in healthy gut bacteria, a 53% reduction in the risk of mild cognitive impairment, 75% reduction in immunity-damaging free radicals, and 91% thicker hair and nails, plus improved skin health. You wanted a supplement you could enjoy. This isn't a chore. It's something you look forward to. Get up to 45% off. Use the code WHO.
I want to be famous.
Is Jameela Jamil done being interviewed by women? There's too many words for me to read why. She's still with James Blake. How are they doing? I feel like we haven't talked about her in a while. Okay, that's all. Gotta watch some Love Island. Crunch, crunch. I'm going to bed.
Yeah, I don't know why people assume James Blake is normal. There is something so funny about people assuming that James Blake, because he's a talented musician, is like somehow more like normal.
They're
than
like, what's he
Jameela,
doing with this girlie who's always getting like
it's like
canceled
they're both
online?
nuts, right? They're both kooky together.
They're
I'm just
kooky.
saying, like there's this funny thing.
Have
where
you
it's
heard
like
his music?
He's a
He's
serious
weird.
musician, and she is somehow. I'm like, no. If they've been together this long and they go well together, it's like clearly they have a lot in common. And I actually find that to be romantic.
Me
I just
too.
don't.
I think they're a cute couple.
I just think it's funny when people call and they're like, what's he doing with her? And I'm like, she's beautiful. They definitely are both crazy in a good way. Like,
Yes. She's also like, for as much hate as Jameela Jamil gets, she's very talented, right? She's very
she
charming.
totally is. We're never
She's a
ever
jack of
talking
all
about her
trades.
work. Do you notice that?
Yeah.
No one is ever being like, Jameela Jamil, specific things about what her acting or her performances. Everyone's kind of just talking about what she's doing outside, which actually you could argue is a really good way to distract if you were doing bad performances, but which she kind
She's
of
not.
But she kind of isn't.
No.
And you know, in all honesty, we tried this segment before. We tried it on Monday, and guess what? It flopped. It got cut.
I actually don't know why we're doing this again, because it's just like,
Was it boring?
it was both boring and it was like
Rude?
it was,
Was
sort
it
of
rude
like,
and boring?
It was rude and boring, and I don't like being rude. I definitely don't like being boring. But I think there's a way to talk about this succinctly, because there's an underlying comedic aspect to this. Like, there's an underlying like comedy to what is going on here in the
Sure.
Jameela Jamil sense, because it's so absurd, right?
Well, I have a thought. Like, I kind of, in my mind, summed this up a little bit better than when I said it, like, on Monday and you cut it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that she did the same thing that the article about her did to her in her own article. And I kind of love that, because it's really hard to write something and put it online without doing the thing that she accuses people of doing about her.
Yes.
And once you become the writer, then you kind of become apt to do that thing. Does that make sense? Actually,
Yeah.
I'll explain what
No,
I'll
I
explain
think
what the
that does make
thing
sense.
is. And I think as a writer, we all want to fight back against like misinformation, but also kind of the exaggeration, the tabloid exaggeration of it all. But but then you find out as you're kind of writing and actually posting and trying to get people to read your stuff, it's really hard not to do this thing. I kind of love that she's experiencing what I experience
Firsthand.
every day as a writer. Like, now you understand. So Jameela Jamil has a Substack now, right? She's like, long live Substack. Celebrities love Substack. I'm
They do.
kind of still confused as to why they want to be writing long form. It's like, leave that to me. I hate it. And I should be doing it. You should be doing whatever the hell you're doing. You know, not this. This is weird for you.
Yeah. And by the way, Substack does say, I was impressed. Substack will give you like a vague sense of how many subscribers a newsletter has. And hers is mean, it's vague in a sense, but it says over 43,000 subscribers.
That's a lot.
Like, that's a bunch of people reading her Substack.
That's a fucking lot. That's a fucking lot. No, and that's amazing that she has that because she's created this incredible, like, I don't want to say brand, but I'm just being like, how people see her, she has really shifted the narrative on. I think that's really amazing. Like, she's an actress, and now people are like, oh no, she's like an intellectual.
But
That's
she's
awesome.
also been a commentator for years because of her
Totally.
podcast. You know, like, she's a cultural commentator, but usually in the video or audio medium. Not
and now she's a
necessarily
long
essays.
form writer on
Yes.
Substack. Who knew? A blogger. So she writes a Substack, and it says, the headline is, I think I'm done being interviewed by women. The subhead is, I'm disgusted. And then the first sentence is specifically in print. Okay. So that's like what I want to say first. That's what her
Specifically
piece is
in
about.
print.
And then she writes a lot of words about this piece in the Sunday Times, this long profile of her in the Sunday Times, where she sat for an interview. She met up with a journalist whose name is Liz Edwards. She sat for an interview, and she thinks they just skewered her, okay? She says, I feel like, you know, all of it was just unfair to me, etc. And she has some interesting points. But one of her points, which makes me laugh, is the headline of that piece is, Jameela Jamil,
The headline online.
For,
the headline online. That's specific.
The headline online is Jameela Jamil, I stood up for Megan long before I met her. And the subhead is like more about her. But this Megan thing, right? She says in her piece, and the piece itself eventually, when it gets there, says, she goes, I've never met Megan. I've never met Megan, but, you know, I support her. It's very simple. It's very short compared to everything else that she's been through in her life. And she said the idea that this would be the headline is sensationalist, is ridiculous. It really is. But she complains about that.
She does say she's met Megan. She just says they're not friends.
In passing. They're both famous people, but they don't know each other. And then she complains because then the cut covers her Substack where she says, I'm done being written about by women, and says, Jameela Jamil is too feminist to be interviewed by women journalists. Okay, that's written by Olivia Craighead. And then Jameela Jamil, she posts that on her Instagram and says, Olivia Craighead does a wonderful job of proving my point with her snarky, taken out of context, bizarre takedown of a piece of my rejection to be written about in print only by women. I say it in the opening line of my piece. It's only in print where I can't use my own words and be twisted as she does in this piece. Okay, so all three women who are writing headlines are writing clickbait headlines.
They
all of
are.
them. All of them. And I'm sorry, but even fucking Jameela Jamil is writing a clickbait headline, okay? And to her credit, the bait was taken. The click was clicked, right? And I just think that it's so funny that she's learning about clickbait. She's accusing people of clickbait journalism, and she is also performing clickbait journalism. To be fair, I don't even think clickbait journalism exists anymore. I don't think that you can even, like, now that Twitter is not an ecosystem for clicking links, I think clickbait is dead. It doesn't exist. It doesn't matter. No one's clicking. That's ridiculous. But if you're going to accuse people,
It's true that no one is clicking. We stopped clicking long ago.
We stopped clicking so long ago. So it's crazy to me when people say clickbait. I'm like, what is that word? That word is like, it's like radical. You know,
But,
I mean, it's
but
like
you
the
are
word
right.
radical.
You are right in that these headlines are written in the clickbait style.
Yes. Yeah, and they're all the same, like from the same school of journalism. And it's just making me laugh because like all of these women are kind of like accusing each other of stuff. And it's like you're all doing the same thing. Even Jameela, like that's like, because now she's a fucking blogger and it's like, bitch, you signed up for this. Like, and honestly, I don't want this for you. I wish I could say to her directly, why are you blogging? You don't want this job. This job sucks.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that was my point that I was trying to make when I started it 1,000 years ago.
I like talking about that aspect more than I like talking about like what her thing was. Like the fact that Jameela Jamil is a blogger now and is having to contend with what it means to be a blogger and how to respond to people aggregating your blog and aggregating your blog in ways that you find like dishonest. Like this is part of her job now. And so Jameela Jamil as a blogger, I mean, she didn't just start Substacking yesterday. She has been doing this for a bit. But you'll notice that when you hear about Jameela Jamil's Substack, you hear about the ones that are typically not behind a paywall. You know, like when's the last one people got mad at? Like she she wrote about like a moment of deep depression and like self-harm, and it was written about and aggregated very sensationalistically by the Daily Mail. And she had every right to be angry, but then what does she do? She writes about that in an unlocked post so that people can read it and then sign up. Like, she's understanding that the ecosystem that she lives in now requires, in a sense, it requires sensationalistic headlines to be created from what she blogs in order for her to get more subscribers. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I think she knows that this is ultimately going to help her cause.
But what I do love about what she's doing is it is rare for somebody who's being profiled to literally go through their profile with a fork, with a fine-tuned fork. Fine-tuned
It's
fork.
a comb, yeah.
Okay, but you know Little Mermaid where she uses the fork as a comb?
Yeah, I think I was actually, when you said that, I was like, she's thinking a Little Mermaid, and I was right.
So it's like she's going through her piece, and it's rare.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally rare. And actually, this is something as a journalist.
That's why I like this. I like what she wrote.
I crave this because, hey, she's ripping apart the Sunday Times, but I do love her kind of like walking me through what it feels like to have the experience of being profiled like this and then have to read it and be like, oh, this is misrepresenting me in this many ways, because I actually think it's impossible to write a profile of somebody and not misrepresent them. Like, there's just no way that you can properly and accurately represent an entire person from talking to them for one afternoon. And we're not, and these profilers are not getting enough time with anyone to properly represent them. I mean, you'd have to know somebody for their whole life, and even then you'd probably misrepresent them in some aspect. So it's like, it is rare, it is cool, and these are the kind of things that I would love to read from more celebrities, even if they are dragging the writer, which is not great, but maybe is a good lesson to other writers to be like, okay, this is interesting that like what I wrote, which I thought was just like kind of a simple list of things that Jameela Jamil has said online about her various ailments, has really offended her because of the way that it was toned. And the tone is a little bit kind of like, when you list them like that, it comes off frivolous, right?
Yeah.
When you list somebody's ailments like that, it comes off like I'm implying that she's exaggerating about them when as a writer, I'm kind of like, I want to get this out of the way. I'm just going to list them all because I just want to move on to the next more interesting thing. It's not that interesting that she's said all these things online, but she reads that as dismissing her entire health situation. I find that so interesting as a writer to see that.
And I thought, like, you put it in the doc, but it really is one of like the best parts of her Substack when she's like, the way that the story opens is with a reminder of all the times she's been made fun of in the past, like, I don't know, 10 years. And then it leads into their actual conversation. And Jameela has an issue with, like, why are you, like, embarrassing me first before we get into, like, what I thought was, like, a really nice conversation we had? Like, why is it that women feel the need to, like, tear me down at the start of something, even when I thought that like they were trying to lift me up in the moment? And that's her issue, where she's like, men don't treat me like that, right? Yes. And she has an interesting point, and it was interesting to read that perspective, where she's like, my lived experience is that when a man profiles me in print, he's a little bit kinder and less snarky. When a woman interviews me in print, she's a little nastier. And like, who am I to object to her lived experience?
Can you read her words from her piece?
I hate to say it, but male journalists have always given me a fair shot, possibly out of fear, because we can spot misogyny faster when it comes from a man. We are hypervigilant for it. When a woman does it, it has to be executed with undeniable crass vitriol for us to identify a hit piece. Men do seem at large more interested in actually exploring and challenging my ideas rather than demanding my credibility to have ideas in the first place. It's like, that's an intense, fascinating accusation to make. And I understand that, like, she's speaking from a very specific personal experience, but it's like, I'd love to read you unpack why you feel that way, you know?
Well, she kind of is. I love that. Like, she's saying this really interesting thing where it's like, she knows that if she's interviewed by a man and he's sexist, like, the internet will notice that immediately because they'll be like, who wrote this, a man? But then somehow if a woman writes it and is sexist in a very similar way, they can, like, kind of get away with it. That's interesting. And also she's saying that because of that single standard, double standard. Is it a double standard? Yeah. It's a double standard. Men work harder to not be sexist. So she's saying, like,
it's a crazy thing to say. Kind of.
Yes, no, she's saying like men, when they interview me, are actively working against the stereotype that they possibly could be sexist by calling me pretty or whatever it is that we're doing, and they do a better job. I'm like, as an interview subject, that's so interesting for you to be saying. And then, she says kind of like, we don't interview men by listing all of their allegations. I disagree with that. I think we actually interview and profile men all the time and list their allegations, and that's a whole other. I actually don't. I think that we're always listing allegations.
Well, that's I think why her Substack. I've read like 3 of her Substacks in my life, the ones that have kind of gone viral, and it's like she gets you in a corner, then you lose her. Then she gets you in a corner, then you lose her. And that's sort of like Jameela Jamil distilled, right? Like, she's an easy celebrity to love. She's an easy celebrity to be annoyed by. And, like, that's just who she is. And I think she knows that that's a good spot for her to be in. It's lucrative for her.
No, and I think she really feels like she's opening the curtain. She's revealing what's behind the curtain on celebrity journalism, and I think a lot of the time she is, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and I think finally what I will say is as the years go by, and I'm seeing Jameela Jamila's like job description and her place in culture sort of evolve, I think she knows exactly what she's doing. And I think anytime she's sort of surprised or totally shocked by a reaction to something, be that a reaction from a journalist or from the public at large, I don't think she's surprised at all. I think
I'll tell you something. I'm never going to be writing about Jameela.
Yeah.
Jamil.
Yeah.
You wouldn't catch me dead, and that's to her credit.
That's to her credit.
Never, yep. I would not be touching her. I mean, talking about her, that's a different subject.
Different.
Apparently, I'll do that, but I don't want to interview. And apparently, she doesn't want me to interview. She's done being interviewed by women journalists
for print. I just love the idea of her like realizing that blogging sucks.
I love that. I think
slowly realizing that blogging fucking sucks.
Realize that blogging sucks before you start your Substack. Can we move on, please?
Yeah,
We've talked about her for so long.
Let's please move on.
Hi, I'm Bobby C. I was just listening to another podcast, and I got an ad for a new podcast by Allison Williams that seemingly is about her and her 2 friends just talking about how they're friends. Can you extrapolate? Crunch, crunch.
Another launch of a celebrity
Oh my
podcast.
God. It's so boring. I listened to it this morning. I was like, Lindsay, you have to hold on the recording because I'm not done listening to Landlines with Allison Williams.
We're trying to fight the good fight, and I feel like I'm losing. It's a losing battle. Every time we lose a celebrity podcast, meaning they like stop doing it or it gets canceled or whatever, we just get a new one. Like, somebody quits, and then Allison Williams is like, me and my 2 random friends are so funny on text.
Best friend since I was a baby.
Podcast.
Oh my God.
Allison Williams is promoting M3gan. Is it actually M2gan? And I have to say, it looks bad. And I loved M1gan.
That's the thing about M3gan. It was a good movie. It was a good movie.
But
it was a movie that was marketed
because it didn't know it was going to be good in the way that it was good. And M2gan, which I understand it's confusing that it's going backwards, but it's M3gan because the 3 is in the E, and now M2gan is Megan 2.0, so it's 2gan.
I think it's M3gan 2.
M3gan 2?
I think it's M3gan 2.
No, it's just M2gan.
M3gan was a kind of good movie that sold itself as a bad movie to get asses in seats. And I'm worried that M3gan 2 is just a bad movie that's selling itself as like a continuation of the first one to get asses in seats. And I just don't have confidence that it's good. But whatever, I'm going to see that shit.
But what it is doing is making Allison Williams answer questions about AI. It's like kind of about AI or something.
No, it's about AI.
So it's just funny because Allison Williams is now
kind of about AI. What do you think Megan is?
Well, Megan was just a fucking robot.
But she had artificial intelligence. She was AI in the classic like storytelling sense, sci-fi sense.
Before anyone even thought the words ChatGPT, M3gan was like
yes.
out here being like artificial intelligence. It's like she didn't know what that meant. We didn't know what that meant.
She has a new podcast with her two best friends since childhood. She's like, we grew up together, meaning like Connecticut, like New Canaan, Connecticut. Their names are Hope Kramer and Jamie Oppenheim. Jamie spelled Jaymie. Love that for her. And it's just three women talking. So now I'm thinking about it like, would the podcast be better if there were six? Because it's with three, I'm like, this is so boring. And it really
I cannot
does.
think. The more people on a podcast, the more chaotic
Yeah, that's
potential
awful.
there is. And it could swing very bad. But it also, you're right, could swing cat's eye, where all of a sudden it's transcendent.
Yeah.
But if I was listening to a podcast with six people, the whole time I'd go, I'd think, who's talking? Who's talking?
Oh my
Who's
God,
talking
Lindsay,
now?
this is such a good fucking
Who's
transition.
talking now?
This
Who's
is such a
talking
good
now?
transition.
What?
So I'm listening to the first episode of LeAnn Rimes with Allison Williams, which is called Pilot. Who Are We and What Is This Show? That's the name of the episode.
Great name, though. You can't deny that's a
Who
great
are
name.
we and what is this show?
Who are we and what is this show?
Who is your daddy and what does he do? So we're fucking
Great.
we're 4 full ass minutes into this podcast.
Before they say who they are and what they do.
Well, 5 before they say who they are. But the first 4-ish minutes, I'm like listening to these women talking. Not in the Sarah Papali sense. And I'm listening to these women talking and I'm like, where is Allison?
You're respectfully listening to women talk.
Yes,
You're
of
saying,
course.
I'm not interrupting. I actually can't interrupt. It's a podcast.
It's a podcast.
And I'm thinking,
Is
where the fuck
pausing-
is Allison Williams?
Hold on. As a woman, is pausing a podcast hosted
Yes.
by women misogynist?
Yes. If you
It
start
is?
a podcast where women are the hosts
I
and you
can't pause
pause it, that's misogynist.
Misogyny.
And Jameela Jamil is like already drafting a blog post about this.
So if you are a man and you're listening to a podcast hosted by women, you cannot let it end. Once you push
And this
play, you
one
have to let it
counts.
go.
This one counts.
Okay, so unfortunately,
if you silence me, if you pause me, if you silence me on this podcast, that's hate. That's hatred.
and so
towards
when I
women.
listened to this podcast at 1.75x speed, that was me saying like, "Hurry up, woman!" So that was
No.
also misogynist.
No, that's you like that. No, I think that's pro women.
Okay.
That's
Okay,
that's
thank
pro
you.
because you're trying to get it in. You know that your male patience is running thin because you're hearing female
But I also
voices,
have
but
to
you're
hear-
still trying to finish it. And you're
Right, I have to
you're
hear what they
doing
have to say.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm listening to Pilot, Who Are We and What Is This Show? And it's like 4.5 minutes in and I'm like, I don't think I've heard Allison Williams. And then I started like doubting myself and I was like, but I know Allison Williams' voice. Maybe, but does she talk differently when she's with these women that she's known since she was 5 years old? Like, what am I missing here? This is so weird. It was one of the first times that I found myself actually wishing that a podcast were in video form, and I never think that because I was like, these women all sound the same. And then, as I said, maybe 4 minutes, 20 seconds into the podcast, this happens. Listen.
So I put them in front of Peppa Pig and fed, literally force-fed them chicken salad on a chip. Each of them while they watch Peppa Pig. And I was like, okay, I feel better.
That is like, I mean, literally getting it done. Just doing what it takes to just get everyone into their beds and being like
psychotic.
And the moment Allison's voice popped up, I was like, there she is. Okay, that's a voice I recognize.
There she is.
I felt so stupid. I was like, of course I could pull Allison Williams' voice out of a lineup. Like, she just hasn't spoken this whole episode because the women they're all talking about their kids.
I feel so familiar with Allison Williams' voice.
Me too.
Like, I grew up on that voice, you know?
Yep.
So what's interesting about Allison Williams is she's kind of like this niche figure that people really stan in this weird way.
Mhm.
Like, she's one of the iconic Bald Ann Dowd's faves to kind of discuss on Twitter, so much to the fact where she did shout out Bald Ann Dowd. She's like, I'm familiar that Bald Ann Dowd's into me, you know, whatever, which is really cute, I think.
Don't think I didn't see what you guys were writing. Don't think I didn't anticipate it. You know what I mean? I knew it and I did it anyway. And then Bald Ann Dowd, God, what an honor. The other day, if you know, you know, and if you know, it seems, posted a video of me from college in a pink cashmere sweater singing a cover of TikTok. It was a joke. I mean, I'm in a pink V-neck cashmere sweater singing a melodic version of TikTok. But Bald Ann Dowd said, you guys think this is Marnie, this is Allison Williams. And I would never contradict Bald Ann Dowd. But it is Allison Williams, but it's also, how weird to talk about yourself in the third person. But it is kind of like a send up of my own vibe, I guess is what I'm saying.
Because she is kind of a cult favorite in a way that I think Megan, M2 and M3 really feed into. Like, she's one of those actresses that you can kind of always reliably call underrated. Like, she's never... And then people will kind of agree with you, but there'll be no discussion about how we all kind of think she's underrated.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make her underrated. But that's okay because normies do kind of think that she's underrated. And everybody's rewatching Girls at all points, you know?
Right.
And being like, wow, Allison Williams is actually not this annoying in real life. She's really doing a good job because she didn't kind of go the way of Lea Michele, where she kind of skirts the line of having a sense of humor about being cast a certain way, being seen a certain way, and being like, no, I'm actually also kind of good at this, good at acting too.
Yeah.
You guys think I'm this way, but I'm actually also kind of good at acting.
Well, it's like the gag of her being in Get Out, I think was very helpful to her, like the perception of her in the public.
But also all of Marnie, you know,
Yeah.
and she kind of took that in stride that people thought she was that way. And then being Nepo baby also, you know, and responding respectfully always.
Did you
to
see
that question?
Our friend Dan's tweet about her Nepo baby status that cracked me up that I retweeted onto the Who Weekly feed? The pendulum has so fully swung from Allison Williams' Brian Williams' daughter to Brian Williams' Allison Williams' dad. And this is based on a People story with the headline, all about Allison Williams' parents, news anchor dad Brian Williams and producer mom Jane Stoddard Williams.
Well, it's a perfect People piece where they're summing up this interview and they're summing up like why people are talking about her talking about M3gan or M2gan or whatever. But they're saying our angle is going to just be in the intro. We're going to quote a little bit of this piece, but then we're just going to list off things about Brian Williams and her and Jane Stoddard Williams, like as our angle as people.com.
Yeah.
It's literally perfect. It's literally perfect. Do I think that this means that Allison Williams is more famous than her dad? No, but it's great.
So this podcast seems like at the very least
It'll go for 6 months and they'll stop doing it?
Well, I just think it's like, it's atypical for, like, a celebrity podcast is usually a celebrity saying, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to have a podcast where I bring on my famous friends and we talk about whatever. And the people that work for them are like, what an incredible idea.
I know. I feel bad because
This
I
is
do feel like
different.
this comes from the, like, being like, I have really cool, supportive, funny, normal friends. I love them so much. We have such a good time in our group chat. We're talking about parenting. We're talking about adulthood, blah, blah, blah. I think other people would love to hear this. And it's like, no. Sorry. I'm like, that's so great for you. And I'm so great you have that. And I'm so glad you have that. And that rocks. Like, I have that in my life too. Friends who really get me and I love to chat with them. But like, does that mean I think that we should all like be a podcast? No.
No. Well, I guess to try to give it the benefit of the doubt, like I was, trying to give Jameela Jamil the benefit of the doubt here.
You
like
sure
this
did,
is,
yeah.
it at least has a concept. So it's like, this podcast is explicitly like based on the, like, definitionally not for me. It is about parents.
It's about parenthood.
It is about,
yeah, and
it is
you're
about,
not
it
a
is about,
parent.
It is
Yeah.
about womanhood and the way that these three women experience, like, what it is to be a woman and what it is to be a parent and what it is to be a mother.
And that's why you listened to the entire first episode,
Yes.
because if you turned it off, it would have been...
It would have been misogynist. And so I
misogyny,
was like,
yeah.
oh, but I'm saying that's at least, that's different, right? That's different from the type of celebrity podcast that we usually get, which is like, I'm going to learn about something. I'm going to learn about, like, what does it mean to be a firefighter? Like, like, it's stupid shit like that, where this is really just like, I'm going to make a podcast for the girlies who are interested in girly stuff. And I'm like capital G girly stuff, who want to talk about, like, what it means to be a woman in 2025 and what it means to be a parent. And this is a group chat come to life because they talk about in the pilot how they are in a group chat and they're always like asking each other questions about kids, and that's all it is. So it's not for me.
Don't stop, make it pop. DJ, blow my speakers up tonight. I'm a fight till we see the sunlight. Tick tock on the clock, but the party don't stop. No, oh, 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 oh. Wake up in the morning feeling like P. Diddy. Grab my glasses out the door. I'm gonna hit this city. Before I leave, brush my teeth with a bottle of Jack. 'Cause when I leave for the night, I ain't coming back.
I want to be famous.
Bobby, summer is here. More sun, more light, more time to do all the things that make summer so special. Here's what I'm not doing. Being inside, cooking, making myself food, feeding myself. I don't want to do it. I'd rather not eat. But you know what? It's cool. I can eat. There is a solution for this. I don't have to be in the kitchen. I don't have to be behind the stove, just toiling away, making myself a meal. I can just call up Factor.
You can just call up Factor and get delicious meals delivered right to your door. They're perfect for any active lifestyle or over summer and beyond.
With 45 weekly menu options, you can pick gourmet meals that fit your summer gains and goals. Choose from options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, Keto, and more.
And it's not just dinner. Factor fuels you all day long with breakfast, lunches, snacks, and desserts. My favorite thing in the Factor box that I got this week was, I like the fish. I don't do much of the beef. I'm just doing like veggies and fish. But there was a salmon piccata that was really good. And there was a tortellini that was good. It was like tortellini and green beans.
Yeah.
I like that stuff. You tell it exactly what you want and it brings you exactly what you want. So get started at factormeals.com/who50off and use code who50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code who50off at factormeals.com/who50off for 50% off plus free shipping. Factormeals.com/who50off.
I have some things I'm planning on getting from Wayfair. I have two main things. Both of them are kind of the same thing, but a little bit different. Let me explain, okay? I need a waterproof trunk, and I need a not waterproof wicker trunk. Two different trunks. And those seem like very kind of vague. Could you get anything, a basket? No, I have a very specific thing in my mind that I want, a very specific aesthetic that I want. And because Wayfair has everything, I know that it's on Wayfair. And that is a great feeling.
A very specific trunk made of a very specific material that's a very specific size.
Exactly.
That's why Wayfair exists.
Literally. Truly.
It's getting warm, which means you're going to be spending a lot more time outdoors. And that's great because Wayfair's huge selection of outdoor items makes it easy to find exactly what's right for you. Plus, there's free and easy delivery even on the big stuff. So you don't have to worry about any of that. So don't wait. Make your outdoor space your dream oasis today with Wayfair and enjoy it all summer long. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop a huge outdoor selection. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home.
This podcast is brought to you by Squarespace. Speaking of, have I updated our Squarespace recently? I got to go take a look as to what's going on. Well, did I turn off the tour? I don't even know if I did that.
Yeah, the tour is off.
Did I add our new New York Times piece to our press page? I don't think I did.
You didn't. And you know what? You could do it in about 2 seconds.
It'll take me 2 seconds, but I'm just saying I'm always kind
of
reminded that I'm forgetting things to put on there. But then it's like, who cares if you forget it? It takes 1 second to add it. It's like, oh, okay, go update it then.
I didn't even know that you put this photo of us on our About page.
I know. Isn't it so cute? Well, it was.
That's a cute photo.
It was an older photo. It was like some other random photo. And I was like, okay, we actually have a cuter photo. And so I put it there.
That's really nice. I love our Squarespace. Our podcast would barely exist without the Squarespace. We embed the podcast. We share press clippings. It has our contact form, which is the most crucial part of our Squarespace, because anytime someone wants to contact us, they don't necessarily know how. Squarespace. There's a contact form right there. It goes straight to our email. It's perfect. So check out squarespace.com/who for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use offer code WHO to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
I want to be famous.
Hey, Lindsay, Bobby, Timmy. I was just scrolling on Twitter, and I don't understand why I keep reading about B Simone. I guess she did a podcast, something with a friend, also something about H&M. People are mad at her. And can you explain what's going on to me? Crunch, crunch. Yeah, women belong in balloon.
This is so funny, and this is podcast. I guess this is podcast mouth segment. Although, technically, that's kind of it's more of a tag than a segment.
It's kind of it is a podcast mouth because she said something very candid on a podcast, and that is the thing that got pulled out and written about on all the websites.
But I do think it's intentional, more intentional than most podcast mouth.
She's
things.
very
I think
intentional.
that B Simone really is intentional with kind of what she knows is going to kind of get people talking, which is, that's why she's so good at what she does. But her whole thing is money and business and entrepreneurship and success or whatever. So this really feeds into her thing where she's on this podcast. It's her podcast.
Her own podcast.
Right?
Yes.
And it's called, the podcast episode is called, well, it's also a video. I'm going through a spiritual battle. Here's why. And you're like, what? Why?
And the podcast,
you must know.
And her podcast is successful. It's been around for a while. It's called Let's Try This Again, which, remember that name because we'll get back to it in a second. But this is just another episode.
So do you want to just play the clip? I think you should just play the clip.
Yes, I'll play the first half of the clip because what I like about it is that there's a turn. I'll play the part of the clip that went viral and the part of the clip that made me say, oh, this is depressing, I don't want to talk about this. And then I'll play the second half that made me say, never mind, this is actually totally fine to talk about. Okay. There are two women talking in this podcast. It's B Simone and her friend Shekinah, who's not on every episode, but it is on a lot of episodes. So they're talking to each other like across on the couch after the BET Awards. So they're in full glam because they just got home from like an award show. And the first person you're going to hear is Shekinah, and then B Simone's going to start talking.
Just my finances, like the budgeting. You see how I am nitpicking every little thing. I've never been like that. We were in Bloomingdale's yesterday. I'm like, we have to go to H&M.
That's the first clip that I saw, and I was like, oh no, like
she had to leave Bloomingdale's and go to H&M.
She had to leave Bloomingdale's and go to H&M. This is so tragic. And then that was the clip that was clipped on Daily Mail or wherever I saw it. And
I know. The Shade Room, etc., went absolutely insane when they're like, she's complaining she's broke because she has to go to H&M.
Right. So like Shade Room is
How
like,
dare she?
it's like she's broke. Isn't it funny? And so people are obviously mad in the comments when they see just the clip of her being like, I have to go to H&M and not Bloomingdale's. Right. So people are
broke.
obviously making fun of her and the concept of like having to go to H&M over Bloomingdale's.
They're not,
but
they're making fun of her, but they're also just being like, how dare you say? They're being fake. They're kind of being fake offended by the fact that having to go to H&M and getting to shop at all, like when you're broke, like and also from her kind of position of influence where she has this podcast that she's clearly making money from. They're just, they're totally
and she's in full
doing
glam after having left an award show.
To do. Yeah,
yes.
Totally.
So come to find out, the reason that she's less liquid than before, because you'll notice she doesn't really say, I'm broke. She doesn't really say, I'm out of money. She's saying, I'm not liquid, which again is such a funny rich person thing to do. It's like, I'm just not liquid anymore. My liquid assets. She invested seemingly a bunch of her money, or like her cash, her liquid assets, into an app. That is an app centered around her podcast, which the podcast is called Let's Try This Again, LTTA. The app is called LTTA app. Let's Try This Again. And the app is like social media, it's exclusive content, it's podcasts, it's videos, it's more stuff from like the B Simone community. And so she's like, I want this to be like my long-term money-making thing, like my long-term business, even though she's had so many businesses in the past to begin with. It's like, this is my new business and I'm going all in on it. And that's why I'm not liquid, because I'm investing in an app.
Like I notice it in me now, just nitpicking. And it's not even, I just don't have it like to spend the liquid. Yeah. I'm used to having liquid. And because I've invested in this app and this platform, I don't have the liquid. I got the money. Not yet. It's coming. I have it in assets. I have it in jewelry. I have it in, but it's like the liquid. I'm used to seeing a certain amount in my account.
Which makes sense.
Sense.
And she's also saying, and also what's so funny is she's not saying I have no money.
No.
She's saying I'm not liquid,
Yeah.
which like people I think are maybe misunderstanding a little bit. What she means is she's still fucking rich. She just has a lot of her money invested in stuff, so she can't get the money out. It doesn't mean the money doesn't exist, and she still has like high capital worth. It's just that the money isn't able to be spent technically on clothing because it is like working its way through other places.
Yeah. So when you see headlines like the Bossip one was balling on a budget, but spelled BAWLIN. It's really good. Balling on a budget, because she is crying in the clip. I don't know if you could tell, but she is crying in that moment. Well, I just love that she transitioned from like being like a comedian who's on Wild and Out for like 100 million years to essentially like inspo influencer entrepreneur podcast host. Like, don't forget that the bottom of all of this, she was a comedian, she was an entertainer first. But anyway, balling on a budget, B Simone cries about affording H&M over Bloomingdale's, sparks quote broke baby girl backlash from 9-to-5 workers, right? But then if you just listen to the full clip, it's like she's not really asking for anyone's sympathy at all. She's just saying like, this sucks to have gone all in on this investment, but I really feel like this investment will pay dividends. She corrects herself even like 30 seconds later. She's like, I'm still rich. Hey, by the way, I'm still really fucking rich.
I
It's all
know,
an
which I'm
investment.
kind of like, she needs to maybe explain like that would be maybe smart for her audience if they're, but you know what, even if she explained it, it's like they're going to take her out of context anyways. Like,
People understand the difference. It's like that billionaire that I was talking about a few weeks ago that like was in the cut being like, no one understands the difference between like liquid assets and investments. It's like, yeah, people do understand it. It's just like they don't like it when you don't acknowledge those sorts of things and act like you're broke when you're not. Anyway, I wouldn't call this, I mean, would I call this, is it podcast mouth if it's on your own podcast and if it's actually not as
no, because she's not
incendiary as
actually
what the
getting in.
blogs say?
It's on her own podcast. She could have cut it. She didn't. That's the point. Like, it's the no,
it's
like
not podcast
she knows what she's doing, and I respect her for it. And like, it's not podcast mouth. Then it's like because this is what gets her app clicked on and downloaded or whatever. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Hi, Who Weekly. This is Eric. Long time. I'm just going to read you a post from Entertainment Weekly. LeAnn Rimes reveals she lost her teeth mid-song during a concert, and she spent the rest of the performance trying to push them back in. Quote, I panicked. I'm panicking. What the hell? Help. Crunch, crunch.
LeAnn Rimes is such a good, like, old school star in that, like, she always is kind of like saying whatever. Do you know what I mean? That's what I mean.
Well, when you heard this, didn't you think like, if a celebrity says, my teeth fell out on stage, wouldn't you say, another case of podcast mouth? If you did think that, you would be wrong, because this was just LeAnn Rimes' Instagram, and she
That's what I'm saying.
just decided, I'm just going to make a video about the time my teeth fell out on stage. She doesn't even sound like that. I don't know what impression I'm doing, but she doesn't even
She's had
sound
a lot
like
of dental surgeries, and she has a bridge in front, and it fell out in the middle of my song last night. A bridge is like a piece of fake teeth in between when you're getting implants, right? Like that's she had the kind of like holder piece or whatever before she like got
She
new
needed a
teeth
better
put
bridge.
in or whatever.
She needed to realize that love can build a bridge, and love should have built her tooth bridge.
Love can build a toothbridge?
Love can build a tooth bridge. That's what she should have done.
Let me show you what love means. Love can build a bridge between your heart and mine.
LeAnn Rimes, though, also kind of like the center of a major tabloid story and still
Yes.
not afraid to kind of like make the news, which I appreciate of her. You'd think somebody like this would be so scared of kind of putting herself out there in the ways that she does sometimes in silly ways.
And
like, if I was her, I would be totally like scared off of that. And yet she still kind of is like, me and my husband who loves me so much, who did leave his ex-wife for me, like at one point.
And let's not forget her name. Like, if you go to her Instagram, I'm always gagged by this. Her name is LeAnn Rimes Cibrian.
Yeah, Eddie Cibrian's wife.
I know.
Of
It's just,
of course.
she wants us all to remember that. We should never forget that.
Yes.
She ruined a marriage, and she's fucking proud of it.
She
takes two to tango. It takes two to tango.
Being Brandy's, now that we know about we have more time with Brandy, I would say she's not kind of.
I feel like
someone,
I feel like this was ultimately the best place for everyone involved.
For everyone involved.
Yes.
Although honestly, I don't give a shit about Eddie Cibrian, so you know.
I only barely
So
give a shit
LeAnn-
about LeAnn Rimes.
I care about LeAnn Rimes. Come on. Of all these people, you care the most about LeAnn Rimes.
Of all the people, I care the most about LeAnn Rimes because I have a nostalgic connection to her, and she does have a beautiful voice. And the songs that I love by LeAnn Rimes, I do still love. I think they're very good, but I don't necessarily think about her much unless she releases an Instagram video that says, story time, the show must go on, tooth emoji, and then you listen to it and she's like, my teeth fell out.
But that's kind of why you should stan her in both song and in celebrity, because she's out here doing this.
Yeah.
You know? Don't you think?
Let's just hear part of this.
Okay, we're going to do a little story time about how the show must go on. And this is the most epic example of how the show must go on. So last night, I was on stage in the middle of One Way Ticket. I feel something pop in my mouth. And if you've been around, you know I've had a lot of dental surgeries. And I have a bridge in the front. And it fell out in the middle of my song last night. To which I panicked and in the middle said, hold on, and ran to the side of the stage and put it back in, like popped it back in, and then just went on singing. And then I just had to get real with everybody and tell them exactly what was happening, or else I would have had to walk off stage. And so for the rest of the show, I was literally like this, pushing my teeth in, like every couple lines, and singing, which, by the way, I never knew how many F's and thus and sh's that I have in my songs, especially Can't Fight the Moonlight. Like, Can't Fight the Moonlight, they like completely put it in my mouth. It was the most epic experience ever. I don't usually have firsts in my career. That was a first, and hopefully a last. I hope my teeth stay in tonight. We shall see. The front row, get ready for something to fly out. Yeah, if you catch them, please return them. You know, good times. Just keeping it real on here with you, just as real as I had to last night. And you know what? Like I said, there wasn't a fucking thing I could do about it except either walk off or just to hold my teeth in and sing. So I just ran with it. In case, you know, anybody has an issue on stage ever and feels embarrassed by it, just watch this video again, and it'll remind you that the show can go on, even in the midst of sheer, utter embarrassment. You just gotta be real with people. It's all good. They're in it for now.
Okay. I mean, I guess I do understand why she had to tell that story, because maybe there was video of it that could have gone viral and she wanted to get ahead of it and just explain herself.
But not even that.
But it's also just like a funny
story.
story. It's just funny.
She knows it's a good story, and she's a storyteller.
I hope this does not mean that she's going to start a podcast. Celebrities need to understand that sometimes they can tell funny stories intermittently. And
I know, look all the press she got for this. If you just have a podcast, they're not listening to your podcast every week necessarily because there's so many to get this type of story. If you just post this on your thing, they're going to see it, and they're going to and look at all the press she got. I'm saying that to her as if she's listening. I'm like, you don't need the podcast.
You don't need to commit to a podcast and
you
release
could just
an
do some
episode every
short
week.
Form journalism right where you live on your social.
As needed, as necessary, you can post an Instagram reel where you tell an embarrassing story.
Yes.
And you don't need to tell that embarrassing story on someone else's podcast so that they get all the money and the clout for it. Use your own fucking channel.
Save your clout. Yes, protect your clout.
It's your currency. Okay?
Protect your cloud. I know, we're so media advisors right now.
Yeah. I think this actually is good advice.
I'm just like, if somebody comes along and is like, LeAnn Rimes, you're an amazing storyteller, do a podcast, here's money. I'm like, well, that could be okay advice too.
Of all the people we talked about, like LeAnn, not even of all the people, because we haven't actually talked about many of these people, but it's like LeAnn Rimes shouldn't have a podcast. Allison Williams does have a podcast, and I would say shouldn't have a podcast. The person who needs a podcast that we've talked about is Jameela Jamil already has one, which is good. Padma Lakshmi needs a podcast. That's my media advice to her. She needs a podcast.
I'm shocked she doesn't have a podcast.
Why doesn't she have a podcast?
And we're never encouraging people to get podcasts. Actually, I'm kind of not even wanting to encourage that, but I'm just saying it's shocking that she doesn't have a podcast.
I think she needs a podcast.
We'll produce your podcast, Padma.
I went through a divorce and an affair, which was really fun. And then I went through getting married, which was even awesome, more awesome. And then I have two wonderful bonus boys in my life. So I have kids in my life now with my husband.
And how old are those kids?
4 and 8.
4 and 8.
Both boys.
So you all of a sudden suddenly are, it's not just a new mom, but 4 and 8. Those are
4 and 8. Yeah, like it was like went from 0 to like 4 and 8.
Having a whole family.
Yeah.
And Eddie Cibrian is your husband, and congratulations on the marriage.
Thank you.
And I don't know, and I just said this to you, I don't read the tabloids, so I really don't know, but I do know that because I was prepared to talk to you today, that the tabloids have been hard on you. So I don't.
I love you for that.
Well,
I love you for not reading it. You and I are like one of the only people that like don't.
Yeah,
even
I don't
pay
read
attention.
it. I don't know what's going on until I come to work and they're like, you know, here's what's going on with this person you're talking to today. So there's been a lot of, I guess, because both of you were married before you got together. That's the problem, right? And that would be the problem.
That would be an issue.
Yes,
for sure.
And so how do you deal with that? And I mean, nobody knows what the real story was, but
well, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's been definitely hard to see tons of lies written about a situation that people don't necessarily know the truth.
Right.
And there's kids involved, so you have to really take the high road a lot of times when you want to stand on a mountain and scream like,
why are you saying this? It's, obviously, we made decisions that were not necessarily the right ones, but obviously brought us to a place where we are now. And we're happy, and we're married, and we've always put his kids first and take his, kids into consideration with everything that we do. So, sometimes you just want to scream. Do you? Well, but you don't. Yeah. I mean, you really. We've learned to let it go and laugh at it at the end of the day. I mean.
Okay, we're gonna end with LeAnn Rimes' teeth falling out. So thank you for listening to another episode of Who's There. Keep calling in at 619 Who Them to leave questions, comments, and concerns for our Friday show. Support us on Patreon.com/Who Weekly for bonus episodes, Discord server, commentary tracks, and more. You can also get the audio only on Apple Podcasts. Just click subscribe within the app. This weekend we're talking about, what are we talking about? The Gilded Age, Season 3, Episode 1. And just like that, Season 3, Episode 5.
How are we going to do that?
All sorts of other stuff.
We should just talk about Cynthia's plot in both shows, and that's it.
We should talk about how...
the Cynthia... It's so funny that she's a teetotaler in one and she's an alcoholic in the other. That's all I'll say, and we'll talk about that this weekend.
A major subplot on Gilded Age is about whether or not they should put out the nice silverware.
Incredible. I love that show. Yes, basically So Isn't just like that. Incredible. I love it. We love it. We'll never stop watching.
Okay. We'll see you on Sunday if you are a subscriber, and we'll see you on Tuesday if you're not. Have a good weekend. Bye.
See ya.
You will dream it.
They want to know.
Hey. Hey. I want to be famous.
Hey, BLT, I just felt I needed to warn you and the community. I put on KFC Santeria today to work out to, and the rest of the music that Apple Music suggested after that was all Christian pop. And I was like, what am I listening? And then I realized, I remember what you said about his old music, and we gotta fix the algorithm. Who works at Apple? Help.
Hi, Lindsay Bobby. And this is just for Lindsay and Bobby, not Timmy. I am a long-time listener, but a first time actually pausing the pod to call in and say that the experience of you two criticizing another podcast for not clearly setting the stage for the story they're telling, it really made me laugh. Crunch, crunch.
Jotty gang, picture this. You're out and about town with your situationship, and he decides to go to his party. When you wake up the next morning, he's dead. And the cops are texting themselves things like, looked at her phone, no nudes. That's right, Daddy Gang. Welcome to the pod, Karen Reed. It's going to happen now that she's free. Anyway, Karen Reed for Dancing with the Stars via Tiongin. Crunch, crunch.
You guys, Timmy, Bobby, Lindsay, Bobby specifically, that Rockefeller Steak remix that you guys did, I have had that song permanently stuck in my head. And I just heard the podcast. And it's been just bumping around in there. Thank you so much also for just bringing that song back into my orbit. That poor Slim was really good. Anyway, crunch, crunch.
Hi, Lindsay, Bobby, Timmy. So I wanted to call the minute I finished the episode when you said Venus Williams is really good at scary escape rooms that she put in the 20 questions or 25 questions or whatever it is. So I actually have a funny story. I guess it's not that funny. Well, maybe it is. Who knows? You can decide. My husband used to work at an escape room in Midtown. And, they got celebrities there quite frequently, and he would come home and tell me stories about it. Some of them, he had to sign NDAs, so he couldn't tell me everything. But this place is no longer open, so I guess it doesn't matter anymore. Venus actually went there for her bachelorette party, and according to my husband, and her soon-to-be husband was there, according to my husband, it was they were really, really good. They got out in time. They won. Apparently they were a really polite, lovely group, so no drama or anything. But his comment that always that made me remember the story is he was like, yeah, Venus was great, so friendly, so wonderful. And her fiance was just there. And I thought that was great. And you know what? How it should be. Anyway, So the comment about her liking escape rooms, I guess, is just me verifying and saying, yeah, it's true. She loves them and she's good at them. And that's a cool thing, I guess. Anyway, crunch, crunch.
Hey, Lindsay, Bobby, can you rank from who to them, bottom, top, and verse?